And welcome.
No, you didn't even give me a countdown.
Oh, I did. You were watching.
You did not give me a dang countdown. You did not give. That's how the podcast is starting, just like that. Jeremy, unforced error, balk. Yeah, the runner walks in. It's baseball time, so we're using baseball terminology. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pride to Detroit PODcast. I take no responsibility for that, except all of it, apparently. I am Chris Perfett, the adequate host at Chris Perfett, Perfett. And that on the unforced error. So behind the scenes, Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit Online, is supposed to give me a countdown before we go live on Twitch.
Ryan saw it.
Wait, what? Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. I think you're gaslighting me, Ryan.
I'm definitely not, but Jeremy, the fearless leader and also professional countdowner. I don't know. Is that... Can we add that to your tags?
My ever-growing byline.
Yeah.
Part of my my new duties as editor-in-chief is professional countdown artist.
Speaking of counting, today on the podcast, we're going to talk salary cap.
We are, everybody. Now that we've got everything squared away, if you haven't downloaded the podcast, you should at Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get them, and watch us live on Twitch, on twitch.tv/Pride Detroit, or check us out on YouTube, search for Pride Detroit there as we do it live and have hijinks. We have not had a hijink like that in a very long time. I enjoy it. And, as per our policy, we don't cut things out of the podcast. That would be like akin to burning down Lincoln's log cabin just because the trolls are mad at it. So today we're talking salary cap, and we're talking about the Detroit Lions salary cap in particular, which means, everyone, guess where we're going? We're going to Cap Hell. Cap Hell. To the ninth circle of Cap Hell. And we're going to try to figure it out. We're going to try to claw our way like Virgil and Dante. We're going to try to work our way out of hell, which actually, if you've read the Divine Comedy, that's wrong, because they actually descend so far into hell that they actually come out the other side and start to ascend up to purgatory. I know my classics.
Coming strong.
Ryan,
with the references
the
at
high
the
school,
top.
Ryan, the high school teacher. You know this is to be true.
It is true. I'm trying to find a way to bring that into Lions lore in some way, because I feel like this is a fan base that has just been stuck in purgatory for so long it doesn't know its way out. But
we're hoping that Matt Patricia was the ninth circle and not like the seventh.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so for everybody's sake.
It means we're at the bottom and we're finally crawling the way through. Anyway, Lions cap number 1. Lions cap number is it's not as bad as the Saints, Jeremy, but let's just say this: we've done wide receivers, now we're taking a larger look at free agency, and the cap number for the Lions is not pretty. It's not Saints bad, but the Lions are going to have to make some cap casualties here.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, everyone is struggling right now because the cap is going down from what it was last year. And obviously, when people were making contracts a year ago or before then, they weren't considering that as a possibility. And while the Lions aren't in a unique spot in that they're over the cap essentially, and really less over the cap than a lot of people, including every team in the division, the problem is that they don't have easy ways to get out while still kind of having a good roster. I mean, they can cut a bunch of guys, but they don't have a lot of guys. Like, one common way to create a lot of cap space is to extend players. They did it with Matthew Stafford a ton of times. You do it with your good players. You're just like, all right, you have a very big cap hit right now. You extend them so that gets pushed down a couple of years. The Lions don't have those guys except for one, right? And he's not currently taking up any cap space, so he's going to cost you. Ryan, you had something to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jeremy, I have a question. Which players are worth extending?
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Golladay is the only answer, and that's not really even an extension at this point. That's just a new contract. I mean, you look across the board, there's really nobody that you can extend to create significant cap space, because the ones that you might think about extending, like, I don't know, Frank Ragnow, Well, he's only taken up 3.7 million anyway, so you're not going to create a ton of cap space there. You're probably going to ride it. It's only the fourth year of a potentially 5-year contract there with on his rookie deal. So we got to figure out some other ways to create some cap space, and we are going to go through as many of them as possible because Lions have some digging to do to get them to a place where they can at least sign a couple free agents, because as we're going to get it to, they're going to have to cut a lot of guys to get there. And if you're going to cut guys, well, you have to replace them, unfortunately, too. So the Lions are going to go bargain bin shopping. We talked a little bit about it with Justin Rogers, but yeah, let's get into, I guess, cap casualties. That's the first
cap
category
casualties.
Here.
Cap, you gotta lose some bodies here. So the salary cap, I don't think we've set the cap yet, Jeremy. In the NFL, the floor is set around 180 million, I believe.
Yeah, I think the most common belief is it's going to be somewhere between 185 and 180.
And right now, I believe the Lions are looking at one without any casualties, kind of projection carryover. Lions cap numbers looking something like 192.8, according to an Athletic article I am reading here from Chris Burke.
Yeah.
That's where we start.
That's estimates. Yeah. Yep.
That's where we start. That's estimates. And it's not a lot. I mean, it's not a ton, but still somehow you got to figure out that money. And as you guys said, there's no big lump that you can just jettison out the window. All of a sudden you can just, all right, we saved, 7 million. We saved 10 million. There's no way to really do that easily.
Yeah, and with that 192.8 million figure, there's already some money you have to cut into that because of Stafford's dead money against the cap, and then also Okwara's prorated bonus. And after you take that into account, they're looking at about 172.5 million.
Where they can spend. That's how much
where they can spend. Right.
That's not how much they have already allotted. So they have well over that allotted. That's the problem.
Right.
So where do you want to start? I almost want to do this as kind of shopping. You're shopping, you've got too much in the cart, and we're being told, you're over budget for this party. You've got to put something back on the shelf. So where do you guys want to start? Because as I said, there's not a lot of places to really move here. And for a lot of these, we talked about free agents. We looked at how many of these guys aren't coming back, but at the same time, you have to have that full roster ready to go for when we get back here in August. And the creative math that Brad Holmes basically has to figure out is, okay, I'm losing about 4 wide receivers, maybe 5. I have to be able to replace that, but also I don't have really the money to keep really replacing them too much. And I think our last episode, we did talk, we mentioned free agent wide receivers that were on the market. And already when we were broadcast, which we were getting reactions as we were saying some of those names, like, oh, that's not a great guy. Why are you mentioning him? And the reason why we're mentioning him is because, sites like Spot Track are projecting them to be cheap.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way you're going to get around this.
Yep. And so, okay, let's say we're in the checkout line. We have, we're in the 6 items or fewer list, and we have 13 items. We got to get rid of some.
We all went shopping. Ryan threw too many Butterfingers in our cart, and the cashier's looking at us funny. They want, these machines are a little more liberal because nobody is like, everyone wants to do the self-checkout these days because of COVID, but they're like, you this is too much here. You've got to put something back. So what are we doing, guys?
I'm really glad you said Butterfingers though, real quick, because like these players that are getting cut are crispity and crunchity. They're not exactly what you thought they were going to be, and they almost deserve to be cut.
So I want to start with I'm going to put this in supermarket sweep terms, the golden wrapped ham. Great on supermarket sweep because it's overpriced, but in reality it's overpriced and it's not very good. Ham is the C- of meats. So I'm going with Desmond Trufant, the $12.2 million golden wrapped ham, well past his prime at this point. Not the kind of corner that the Lions were hoping when they signed him to replace Darius Slay. They clear $6.2 million if they cut him. That's a huge amount.
That's, I mean, right there, we've already got, I think, like, what, 80% done.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because again, you have to replace these. You also have to account for your rookie class, and that's going to cost a lot of money. We got to talk Galladay again, probably at some point, Romeo Okwara. So it might sound like that's halfway or even 80%, but in reality, it's not. And you're still taking on $6 million dead money, which is not great. But I think we can all agree, like, this is one that's just like, this is inevitable. They have to do it, right?
Yeah, and this was one of those contracts I feel like that I didn't see this guy ever replacing Darius Slay when we signed him. This is one of the big bet. There's some bad deals from the Boston Boys era, but I consider Trufant to kind of be like Trey Flowers. At least you got some production out of. I don't know what you know. There's an argument to keep Trey Flowers, I guess what I'm saying. I don't know what the argument is for Desmond Trufant, other than he knows this and it would be $6 million on the dead cap if you cut him. But as you say, like, this is probably a good place to start. The replacement level value of Desmond Trufant is very close to 1.
There's a contract that we're going to get to that's definitely worse than Desmond Trufant, but Trufant is a bad one. And the problem is the Lions, we talk about the lack of depth they have at wide receiver. I mean, they got a couple of corners, but you're really, really banking on those guys to take the leap into their next season with Oruwariye and Okuda as being your top 2 guys, and we're not even through cutting corners yet. I agree that Desmond Trufant is somebody who has to be a cap casualty just because of the amount of money he'll save you and because of his, inability and ineffectiveness on the field last season. Let's get into the next big, savings that the Lions could nab. And this would be a post June 1st savings, but you're talking about the Lions nickel corner, Justin Coleman. You could save yourself $9 million if you cut him. But then again, how are you going to be able to replace a guy who has at times looked really good, but has also at times looked much less than that contract that he was given by Bob Quinn?
Yeah, and the June 1 designation stuff is finicky, right? Because, like, well, you're not getting that $9 million until June. It doesn't come off the books until June, so spending it on a replacement, you can't, because that money's still locked into Justin Coleman during free agency. You're going to have to wait until well after free agency to do it. If you do it before then, it's almost $5 million in relief, which is still a lot, but $9 million certainly sounds better. But you're right, and the corner position is going to be very interesting this year, because I do think, like, there's very little harm in just being like, all right, Amani Oruwariye and Jeff Okuda, you're our starters. Like, that might not work out well, but what's the harm there? You're not playing for a Super Bowl in 2021. Get those guys in some reps, see what you have, and then reevaluate in 2022.
What's the possibility that Jamal Agnew goes back to cornerback?
I had played with that idea.
Pretty good.
It's possible, but he's a free agent too. You have to re-sign him too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to cost you money.
I played with the idea of Darryl Roberts potentially being re-signed. He didn't play. In terms of PFF grade, he was the Lions' best corner last year. He was better than Amani Oruwariye. He was better than Jeff Okuda. He was better than everyone, I think, short of Mike Ford, who played like 70 snaps at corner. So cheap option. Those are the kind of signings that you're going to have to get used to because the cap is so strapped. Like a guy like Darryl Roberts might be your starting corner. Nickel.
And again, I really have to impress this on Lions fans too. Like, this is one of those years that it's like you're not going to have the most banger of rosters out there. This is going to be a rough year. This is kind of picking up the pieces from bad contracts, from this kind of cap situation, and you just got to get through it, man.
The one thing in terms of Holmes's ability to finagle with the roster in this cap, Jeremy, with the post June 1st designations, because there's another name that we'll get to where the Lions can save, significantly more money by cutting him after June 1st. Maybe the Lions go into this with the approach of, we'll find that guy's replacement in the draft. So it's like a much cheaper option than it is to go out and sign somebody on free agency. Again, that's a risky proposition, and you're kind of setting yourself up for that. But I don't know. It's just a reality that maybe the Lions might have to take on.
Yeah, and that's why I think, and we probably won't get to it in this show, but like I think the strategy in the draft has to be trade down and accumulate as many picks as possible, because you're not going to be able to hit everything in free agency, and you're not going to be able to hit everything in the draft. And you don't really, at this point in the rebuild, you don't want to have to force your way into taking a starting level nickel corner. You just kind of want to go best player available down the line, given how little talent there is on the roster. But we should probably go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and the one thing before we kind of move the shit forward on all of this is it's gonna take two partners to make that deal happen. I think that there are a lot of teams that might want to take that as their modus operandi for this offseason is like, hey, we should try to get as many draft picks as possible to save ourselves from this cap hell. So that might be difficult.
Yeah, that's a good point. You might have to take less value than you normally would in a trade down year.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, before we move on, because I think there's a big question lurking when it comes to the cap here, and I want to touch on that next. But real quick, just sticking on the defense. Let's stick on the defense. Two more names that kind of pop up. We've been talking a lot of corners. Now let's talk some defensive tackles. Nick Williams, Danny Shelton. You could save about $4 million on each of them. I think Nick Williams, he's probably close to $5 million, 4.7, I believe. Yeah. So, where do we see that? Where do you see that in your minds? Is that something it's a little over? Do you want to try to shove it through checkout, or do you think any of these guys you could probably cut?
I think Nick Williams is an easy cut. Didn't provide much. I mean, maybe he's your best pass rushing defensive tackle, but the level of play that the Lions got last year was replacement level. Certainly not worth $5.7 million, which is its current cap hit. I don't think there's even a question with Nick Williams. Danny Shelton is a trickier one, but again, I don't know. I think that $4 million might kind of not be worth it. Shelton's a good player. He's a nose tackle though, and those are, I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen. Maybe you like what John Pennicini gave you last year if that's the kind of defensive tackle that you're really looking for. Maybe you want to be more of a pass rushing threat, and maybe you don't need these one tech, these zero techs, these pure nose guys. We're still kind of picking through what the Lions are going to do. They say they want to be like the Saints. They say they want to be like the Rams, but then they also turn around and say, we're going to be scheme versatile. We're going to play to the strength of our players. And so, I don't know. I think both those guys are expendable, especially Nick Williams.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Especially, you mentioned John Pennicini, and that's again one of those young guys that I think the Lions are going to have to lean on moving forward to replace some of the failed experiments on the defense. Pennicini is going to be under team control for a few years more. He's pretty cheap with what you have on his rookie contract, so I think that's an easy enough one to do. I know he was mixed last year on what he could provide, but the point of this year, I feel like, is for a lot of these guys to see if they can take a new step forward with a new coaching staff, Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's one more player on the defensive side of the ball that I think is set up perfectly to be a cap casualty, and that's Christian Jones. And the Lions are obviously going to be looking to upgrade at linebacker. So, you take all those names. You take Christian Jones, Danny Shelton, Nick Williams, Desmond Trufant, potentially Justin Coleman. There isn't a lot of quote unquote talent that's better than replacement level to replace there. I mean, so that's why I think the Lions can offset a lot of their losses by cutting these guys and either looking to free agency or the draft to find their replacements. And they won't be much worse for wear when it comes to that situation. Do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, no, I think that's probably pretty accurate. I mean, especially in the case that you're starting over scheme wise, anyways. So a lot of these players might not be adept to the kind of scheme you want to play, or I mean, Christian Jones is a guy that somehow stuck around the roster as long as he did. Somehow got an extension. And yeah, I mean,
he got a raise.
Yeah,
for being bad.
and if we're being honest, Desmond Trufant was a scrambling signing. It was a desperation signing. Justin Coleman is a guy who I still think might be able to play in this league, but he didn't in the first couple of years. And maybe if the Lions were in a different situation and the gang was still here and all that, you could hang on to that contract and all that. But now that 2021 is a rebuilding year, there's no reason to be paying a nickel corner $11 million a year. And so,
okay, so we got defense done. I want you guys real quick before we go to break, then take one name. Definitely, you're like, this is the guy I'm definitely taking out. The others will hem and haw and maybe try to shove it around. But which one's definitely out for you? Because for me, it's Desmond Trufant. It feels like he was signed basically as Bob Quinn trying to say, okay, watch, we can replace this guy, Darius Slay, really easy, no problem. But
I don't know if that his thought was like, frick, Darius Slay hates us. We need someone.
Yeah, but they almost the Lions instigated that too. Come on.
Well, no, it was their fault 100%. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was desperation. It was desperation. I don't think
Yeah.
they legitimately thought this guy was going to be as good as Darius Slay. I thought they were probably just like, this is probably the best we can do. So we got to throw a ton of money in it, and now we're screwed.
You're doubting the delusions of the Boston boys. Go ahead, Jeremy. Who's like a number one you got to cut?
On offense?
Defense.
Oh, no, yeah. Same.
Trufant, yeah.
Yeah. I would say Trufant, but a close 1B for me would be Nick Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost $5 million we're saving in cap space for a guy who, Mr. Potato. I don't know.
I'm sorry, that's gender neutral potato now.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Don't
what?
tell Nick Williams about that.
Don't tell Nick Williams
He'll
about
get
that
in the
either.
Twitter tirade. Anyways.
Oh my. Anyway, we should take a quick break. When we come back, I want to touch on the offense side for some cuts, but I feel like the bigger question we should talk about is this is a weird shopping market, Jeremy. This is where we can haggle down on a couple pieces here. So we're going to talk about haggling down on a couple, which is my idiotic way of saying restructuring in play. Restructuring. And there's one big name above all else we should talk about, the question of restructuring. We should talk about it because Lions fans have been going back and forth on this. We'll just knock it out of the park. Right next on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Okay. Hi, Alex.
What's up, Alex? Really quick, let's get through some of these alerts. Conrad with the host of a viewer. Appreciate that. Before that, the respected man friend on Twitter and on Twitch has now subscribed for 10 months. Just says streaking. Lefty Detroit, obviously a huge supporter of the channel, is now subscribed for 11 months. Nick the Greek dropped 100 Brits. I should probably read this before I read it out loud. Nope, not going to read it out loud. Crook FTW just subscribed for 5 months. Appreciate that as well. What's up, Alex? How about cutting Tyrell Crosby? Let's look at Tyrell Crosby's. So his cap hit is $2.25 million. Dead cap is $71,000. So you could free up about $1.5. No, you could free up almost $2 million. But what are you going to do at right tackle then? Like $2 million, paying Tyrell Crosby $2.1 million. Can you do better or even equal with just that contract? Maybe a rookie, but then you've now pigeonholed yourself into a starting right tackle. I think they like Tyrell Crosby. I mean, he can play both right and left tackle. Vaitai is kind of, we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get into offense.
No, we'll talk Vaitai because of
we're going to get to Vaitai.
Potential cap casualty there. So,
but
there's also a restructure. There's also a restructure question for Vaitai too. Dubious McCheese. Hey guys, you want to solve the cap issue? Change all salaries to pesos. I like that.
I don't think that's how it works.
Hello to our YouTube chat, by the way, who is, I hate to break this to Austin Nicholas, but they're going to have to live with Goff, man. Like, I just, like, this idea that we shouldn't have traded for Goff is just, it's so weird. You guys want to, like, do this thing after, like, it happens.
Well, I want to get a little bit more into it once we talk restructuring and all that
yeah,
stuff.
But like, you can't,
I understand why people are like, I don't think getting Goff was a great thing. I don't think it's particularly good either. Like, I understand why. I think the coaching staff thinks he's good, and I hope they're right, but I don't know if I agree.
I just don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be either. He had like a bad year, I get that, but like, this is a guy who, I mean, take it away from all you want. He went deep in the playoffs. He did good stuff for a few years. Like, the amount of people who are just like acting like this guy is Jameis Winston blows my mind.
Well, it's particularly challenging trying to circle that square because the Lions, they had to get rid of Matthew Stafford. Like, he was not coming back. And
yeah, Goff's a downgrade, but he's not like an insane downgrade either.
He's an obvious downgrade. However, I don't know how much better. Like, you talk about the cap hell that the Lions are in right now. Could you? I mean, that situation would be mitigated a little bit, but say they would have taken an offer like, well, I can't say Carolina because Teddy Bridgewater would have been.
Teddy Bridgewater, I think it's a shorter deal for Bridgewater. I
Yeah.
think it's about the same. I have to go look it up.
But regardless, like imagine the Lions were in this situation with like anybody else. I mean, Lions fans they'd be the same way over it. And I think that I think Brad Holmes knew what he was getting into in terms of the cap situation in Detroit. And I think this is this is like step one of his quote unquote bold plan. Like, I haven't forgotten about that. Don't worry. Like,
yeah,
I mean, we're seeing it unfold in real time, and they could be a lot worse off at quarterback than Jared Goff. He's a goober. I mean, 100%.
Well, and I mean, I think most people are upset with the contract more so than anything else. Like, whatever. Like, you have Jared Goff for 2 years. I don't think anyone would really care if it was a low cap hit. It's not a low cap hit. It's one that is going to limit them this year. I think we can all admit that that's true in free agency. The question is, do you care? Do you care? And again, this is stuff we'll probably get into in the next segment. Do you care that the Lions aren't going to be able to be active in free agency this year? Does it matter? I don't know. I mean, they're not.
No, it doesn't matter.
I've wanted to rebuild through the damn draft. I don't care about free agency at this point.
But there's all those other things that we talked about, like when we were talking about the Kenny Galladay contract. Like, you don't want to have a shitty team this year. You don't want to have a shitty team next year. You don't want to have a team full of rookies and undrafted guys and bargain bin free agents. You don't want to be a 3 and whatever equals up to 17, 3 and 14. Math.
But all that being said, Jeremy, I agree with you, but maybe it's just a changing in the coaching, because like they said, Dan Campbell, without saying it, without those players really knowing what they're doing out on the field, I mean, maybe you can just improve the level of play on the field by having a bunch of guys all moving in the same direction and all doing what they're supposed to be doing and playing where they're supposed to be playing.
Sure.
Not saying that the Lions have a bunch of untapped talent. I'm just saying that, I don't know, like you have to accept the fact that Stafford was gone, and that was going to create a bunch of cap problems regardless of whether or not you got Goff or you got Bridgewater, or maybe even if you didn't get a quarterback at all. But then you were in a situation where,
Lock.
yeah, or maybe you were just in a situation where, oh boy, we have Chase Daniel. Like, come on. You want to talk about being competitive. You weren't going to be competitive with Chase Daniel.
Sure.
I just don't understand that, how long did it take Stafford before everyone just like definitively agreed the guy was like primo stuff? It took him, it was damn near 30. Like, Goff's 26. By equation right now, I think this would be 2011 for Jared Goff. Like, for Stafford at the same age of Goff, it would have been 2011.
Well, no,
playoff year.
That was Stafford's third year. Goff has been in 5, third, right?
He did go to the league earlier, but like same age is what I'm saying. Like, so I just don't think the book's been written on Goff, and I'm kind of blown away every time I see people like want to shut the casket on this guy.
It's too bad that the Lions didn't know that Washington was going to cut Alex Smith, because the Lions could have fixed this situation real easily.
Okay, Brian, I know you're an Alex Smith fan, but do you honestly believe he can play a full season as a starter?
With the Lions offensive line? Absolutely.
Let me catch up on a couple alerts here from very familiar faces. Alex Reno with the 11 months resubscribing. Getting a little kiss there from Ryan. And our good friend Bearded Blevins with the 10 months. He says, 10 months to help you get closer to number 16 and farther away from number 9. No. Don't make me do that.
Lions was clear Stafford was his best his rookie year. Come on, guys. Like, he was throwing so inaccurately until like 2011 or 2012 or so. Don't do this. Don't do this revisionist history. No, like the whole reason you have so many old heads like still crapping on Stafford is like there was an evolution in him where his interception numbers went down like partway into his career.
I think there are a couple. Yeah, I
He
think that
also
there were a
protected
couple
the ball
things
a lot
too.
better. Yeah.
Like I think one of the major questions about Stafford up until like 2011 was like durability.
Right.
Because at that point in his career, you had the rookie season that got cut short, and then you had the injury against the
2009 he got hurt?
Bears. Yeah, where he missed the majority of the season. So those were the questions around Stafford. I don't think anybody ever questioned his arm talent, but they definitely questioned his decision making. That was for sure.
I definitely questioned his ball protection up until a certain point.
I mean, Stafford's turned the ball over, like not even just throwing picks, but holding on to it has been a problem his whole career.
Yeah. But he did get better at those, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, there is a point.
Yeah.
I don't have the chart up, but like there was a point around, I think it was 2015 or 2016, where those numbers just went way down.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was Caldwell. Like Caldwell came in and taught him to be more. I don't even know if it was for a good thing, to be honest. He basically reined him in. He said, like, listen, let's not be the gunslinger mentality. I think it all kind of, I mean, I don't know why we're talking about Stafford, but like, I think he came in firing and looking, I think, pretty darn good when he wasn't injured. 2011 was a ridiculous season. Then, like, the interceptions were there too, along with the touchdowns. He's throwing a billion times. He's throwing for 40 touchdowns, but he's also throwing for 18 interceptions or whatever it was. Then Caldwell comes in, kind of reins him and says, hey, man, you don't need to be the gunslinger. Let's just kind of take some safe passes. His yardage numbers goes down. His touchdown numbers go down, but his interceptions go way down. Then Jim Bob Cooter comes in, and suddenly, boom, everything's on fire again. He's great. Then everything's suddenly ineffective.
Everything's
again.
On fire for multiple reasons.
Yeah,
it's on fire.
Yes. And then, like, I think you kind of got the best of both worlds, like throwing everything he's learned together in the culmination of his career under Darrell Bevell, and like he's learned to take his shots and take pretty good care of the ball. Like, he's not perfect, I get it. He's still gonna, force some balls into tight windows and all that. But like, I think I don't know. Again, like, we're kind of getting far off from the original point, which is Jared Goff. The book shouldn't be written on Jared Goff yet, which is, yeah, that's true. But also, I think there's no point. No, the ceiling of Jared Goff's career is nowhere near Matthew Stafford. Just as he doesn't have the arm talent.
It's not. But at the same time, I don't think he's anywhere near the territory that I'm sorry. If you're saying you should cut Goff, or who cares how he does next year, still get rid of him, like, that's insane. I'm saying you give the guys a fucking chance.
I think one last thing about Goff, and I'm ready to move on after this, but like, I think the thing with Goff is people have seen what they think is peak Goff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they've seen what he can, like, they've seen the ceiling and they've seen the floor. They just don't think that. I mean, it's tough to, it's going to be tough for him to.
Look, he got to a Super Bowl, but at the same time, like, look at all those things that was happening with that Rams team too. Like, Todd Gurley, like, literally disintegrated that season. I don't.
And Goff's best years also line up with Gurley's best seasons.
Yeah, complementary run game.
All right, really quick before we get into the second segment here, I've had a few people ask, how many returning starters do you think the Lions are going to have this year? So let's go through them
on
quick.
Defense.
Overall, I guess. Overall.
Jeez.
So you got Decker, you got Ragnow, you've got Jonah Jackson. I guess Vaitai. Do we count Vaitai? I think. Well, I'm going to count Vaitai.
Well, he was supposed to be a starter last season, so
yeah.
T.J. Hawkinson. Is Swift considered a returning starter?
Yes. Yeah, no, he was listed as as far as ESPN's concerned, he was listed as the number one running back.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I hate
whatever.
The starting things
like
about running
games.
backs is so dumb.
He started like 6 games, so sure. Let's count 6. 6 on offense. Did I miss anybody? I mean, wide receivers are really do you think Kenny is coming back or not? I don't think we can count Kabinda because he wasn't really a starter.
What do we? Sorry, I was like trying to pull this up too, so I might have lost some of the early count. Like, what do we feel on like Ibushi? Is he just losing that job to Jonah Jackson at this point, or?
Well, okay, so Ibushi was right guard, Jonah Jackson left guard.
Yeah.
Ibushi
Oh,
is
he
a
was
free
at left
agent.
guard. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Jonas started at right guard, then he moved to left guard. So
Right.
yeah, right guard is a big question. Is it Vaitai? Is it Jonah Jackson? I'm sorry. Is it Vaitai? Is it Ibushi? Is it Joe Dahl? Is it the rookie that didn't play last year?
I think we can just say
Stenberg.
probably
Thank you.
Can we just say 4 of these guys that they currently have as O-line are probably coming back next year?
And I think that's a number I thought.
Yeah,
of
so
just because
4 plus Hawkinson, 5 plus
Swift.
running back 6.
Yeah.
So 6 returning
And then-
starters on offense, and then on defense,
Okwara.
Oruwariye.
I don't know
Oruwariye,
if-
Okuda. Again, do you count Okuda? I don't know.
I
Whatever,
don't think
doesn't
you'd
matter.
count Okuda as a starter, but yeah. So Oruwariye, Flowers.
Flowers.
What are you doing
Harmon
at safeties?
or
with
Walker?
Tracy Walker and Harmon? No, neither of them.
Harmon, no. Walker, yes.
Okay.
Harmon's gone. Harmon, free agent. Why would he want to come back to a non-New England thing? So what? We had 2 there.
Yeah.
Two,
What are we doing
maybe
at
3.
linebackers? Collins.
Jamie Collins will be back.
Tavai is going to be back. We're going to talk.
Tavai's going to be back. Is he going to be a starter though? Is a very
That's true.
different question.
And then Jones. Well, Jalen. I don't know who
we're
that
cutting
Sam
Jones.
linebacker would. What?
We're cutting Jones. Jones is done.
Yeah.
Walker wasn't a starter though. I mean, he was most of the time. He just didn't start out that way. But yeah, I mean,
Will
I don't know.
Harris?
Will Harris. Will Harris didn't start enough games. I mean, I
Whoa, hold on! Don't nobody clip that because you can take that out of context.
yes, didn't
Will
start.
Harris didn't start
Didn't
enough
start
games.
enough games to be considered the starter from last year. Let me finish that whole sentence there. But yeah, I think
Number 1 Will Harris fan, Jeremy Reisman, checking in.
I think we're at 4. That's the most. So, 10-ish total
Out of 22.
out of 22.
Yikes!
I mean that sounds about right for where the roster was at. Dale Roberts
my
nickel
sword
corner
and
if we
put
drop
the
Coleman.
dog
I
inside.
threw that out in the first segment. I think it's a possibility. It's a cheap replacement. It's a guy who has starter experience. He didn't play horrible last year. It's not. I don't think he's physically gifted as Justin Coleman, so his ceiling isn't as high. But again, we're talking about middle of the road guys on this roster, up and down. That's what they're gonna have to deal with. And you could argue the Jared Goff contract has helped them tank a little bit. And I don't know.
There's the
If-
clip.
I don't think the Lions necessarily view it that way, but the Jared Goff contract is going to have to make it so they cut corners when it comes to building their roster this year. And so that's as close as really you get to tanking in the NFL, is just taking on a bunch of low talent guys who won't cost you much and hoping you can coach them all up. Okwara, yeah, I guess Okwara is the one we didn't mention, but they have to re-sign him first, and that becomes a challenge. Hello? Either of you guys? Are you here?
No, I'm waiting for this dog to shut up.
Oh,
I keep
thanks,
seeing
Nick,
the
for
light. I
clipping
keep
that.
seeing the light go on my mic. So these people next door is it's going to drive me insane.
We all knew this roster turnover was coming, and if the Quinn Trisha era failed, it's not surprising. No, it's not surprising. It's just
it's
tough
not.
to get out of, right? Like
Yeah.
when you have a guy like Jamie Collins who you have to essentially keep, but he's costing. I mean, you have to keep him around for a while. He's an 11 million cap hit this year, and he's 11.6 million if you cut him. So you don't save any money if you cut him, and you might have to he might have to stick around next year.
Yeah, this
Same
is
with Trey
one of
Flowers.
this is one of the side effects of rosters turning over faster and more often in the NFL. Is like there's a lot of pieces that have to be moved each time. Like, yeah, it's easier to turn over rosters and change them up as you see fit, but it's also now you gotta change out more than you anticipate, I guess. I'm just fixing something here.
But yeah, I guess Jamie Collins you can get out of that contract next year. The 12.3 million cap at only 2.3 million in dead cap, so you save 10 million next year. That's probably going to happen because Jamie Collins will be 33 by that point or something. Trey Flowers is a trickier one. He's on. We'll talk a little bit about him in terms of restructuring, I think. But he's a $23.2 million cap hit next year. $11.2 million of that is dead cap. So he's still gonna. Either way, he's gonna cost significantly on the books next year. So you have to decide: is he worth it? And I don't think a lot of us criticized that contract at the time, and I don't think we necessarily should have. I think a lot of us understood it was a little bit of an overpay, but the issue is like, okay, but who's Trey Flowers outside of the Patriot system? And that's something we're just going to have to find out this year. Is he going to be worth a 5-year, $90 million contract, or
is he going to be a Jag?
Yeah.
All right, I got to stop looking at YouTube chatter. I'm going to get mad at something else again.
So we can do second segment instead.
So we can do second segment. I think the dog has finally stopped barking. So, all right, let me get a stopwatch for this. Oh, for the love of Christ! Can you guys hear that on the stream or no?
Yes.
That's at every hour. Doesn't matter how late or how early it is. So they put that dog outside. It's not right.
Welcome to the stream, Eli, my son.
Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. All right, let's talk about some big potatoes. So we've got quite a bit in our. This is supermarkets. I've never. Can I admit something?
Don't say it.
I've never seen supermarket sweepstakes. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, because you called it supermarket sweepstakes, so we can tell you've
What is
never heard it. It's just supermarket sweep.
Supermarket sweep, yes. I like watching nature shows, Jeremy. The human race, I will not partake in their shenanigans. Sorry. I'd rather watch penguins. Supermarket sweep. So how do I, like, is there something where we've got like a big thing in here and we have a chance to maybe fix its price or come up with a coupon or something? Like, we're talking about restructuring Jared Goff's contract. I don't know the right analogy to make. Please help me here. I'm drowning.
Payment plan, I guess, maybe.
Layaway.
It has nothing to do with supermarket sweep, but yeah, like a payment plan, because Jared Goff's contract is kind of ridiculous. He's making a $25.3 million base salary this year, but the good news is that it's base salary, which means it's very easily restructured. That really makes all parties pretty happy. And the way you do it is essentially you turn that $25 million into, let's say, $21 million. Take $21 million of that dollars, throw it into a signing bonus. You make it a new signing bonus. Hooray! Jared Goff, $21 billion right in your pocket right now. Why would he hate that? He'd love that. Instead of having it spread out throughout the season, it's not guaranteed necessarily. Boom, right in your pocket. For the Lions, it means that $21 million or however much of that base salary you convert into that signing bonus, it gets split in the remaining 4 years of his contract. So let's just say it's $20 million. So it's $5 million signing bonus this year against the cap, $5 million next year, $5 million the following year, $5 million the year after that. So you're freeing up a ton of cap space, up to, estimate to have about 15, 16 million, depending on how they do it, in year one alone. The downside to that, though, is that one of the things when this trade first went down, that people liked about the trade was that, hey, Jared Goff, no guarantees past 2022. You can get rid of him in 2023, cost you nothing against the cap. It's free. You're on a 2-year rental for Jared Goff.
Estate.
Boom, done. Over with it. Then you can start your rookie contract and start anew. Well, if you restructure his contract, that's no longer true. Because then you have those $5 million guarantees every single year. So then you have $5 million in 2023, $5 million in 2024. It's not as clean. It's not a ton. You're not talking about, 15, 20 million in dead cap if you cut him in 2023, but it's not as clean as it used to be. And so you have to kind of face this philosophical question. Do you take the lumps this year and just say, hey, it's part of the rebuild, just, do what you can with the roster. If you can't do anything, no big deal. We'll move on in a couple of years. Or do you take a couple lumps down the line and be like, listen, we have to at least try something this year. We have to create some sort of space to build some sort of roster. We don't want to look like the freaking little giants out there. And so, 15 million is a lot. And you can do a lot with it. You can carry it over into next year if you want. It creates, and like I said, the lumps down the line aren't that bad. But it does go back to this philosophical question. Do you want to keep kicking cans down the road? At this point in the era, like, we were talking about how the cap situation in 2 years is going to be beautiful. But if we start restructuring contracts and kicking cans down the road, we saw previous regimes get into trouble doing that. Well, suddenly the future isn't as clean and pretty as we all hope. So I guess I'll ask that question to you guys. Like, do you want this team to just kind of take the lumps this year and then be clear of the Bob Quinn era in a couple of years down the line? Or do you think this team is in such dire need right now that they at least need a little bit of wiggle room?
I'm not worried about 2021. I'm not concerned with being, yes, I want the Lions to be competitive. I don't want them to be the little giants. I think Chris might argue that he does want them to be the little giants for their meme ability. But I don't want the Lions to have to worry about restructuring Trey Flowers' contract like that. In Chris Burke's article, he makes a really good point about how that's such a massive headache because of the commitment that Quinn made to Flowers initially. I don't want the Lions to have to keep atoning for the sins of Bob Quinn in years after 2021. I want them to be able to kind of wipe their hands of the things that Bob Quinn has done. And they can start that process by, cutting players like Justin Coleman and, moving on from bad contracts like Christian Jones. And I just don't want the Lions to have to keep on kicking that can down the road because, we've seen that before and it's not pretty. So I think the Lions can, and I've said this before, I think the Lions are going to be more competitive than they were in years prior just because of the change in the coaching staff. And I know it might not result in more wins. And I don't think, yes, obviously you want to win games, but I think that the Lions are going to take the right approach to this. Hopefully Brad Holmes's bold strategy did not include restructuring Jared Goff because I don't have a problem. And I think that can be understood. I don't have a problem with the Jared Goff trade. It becomes a problem when you do restructure his deal and you're on the hook for those additional years. I think that would be Brad Holmes' first misstep is restructuring Jared Goff's contract.
I don't think I agree. Go ahead.
No. You go first because I'm still looking up something. So you go first.
No, I don't think I can agree. I think money is too tight right now. And I think extending Jared Goff creates significant enough room where they can just they don't have to be as desperate everywhere. And to be clear, I'm with you guys. 2021 doesn't mean that much to me, but if you want to re-sign Romeo Okwara, which I think is something that a lot of fans want, I don't think that can happen without Jared Goff getting extended. I really don't, because there's not a ton of avenues to create money. We only created about 15, 20 million in that first segment by cutting all those defensive players. And there's not really much else they can do because, like I said, there's not players they can extend. Restructuring is kind of the way they have to go. And to me, the lumps you take in the future just aren't that bad. You aren't going to be on the hook for, like I said, 10, 15 million of dead cap. Dead cap is a thing. It's not ideal, but it's something that every team has. And so you have 5-10 million of dead cap for Jared Goff in 2023 when you decide to part ways. If you decide to part ways, again, we can't just assume that Jared Goff is going to suck and the Lions are going to decide to cut ways with him. But a restructure does pretty much guarantee he'll be around 2 years, which, again, I don't think a lot of us have that big of an issue with. I think a lot of people understood that was probably going to happen regardless of whether you restructure Jared Goff. It just means you're going to be taking additional cap hits in 2023, even if he's not on the team. And to me, that's an okay trade-off for just the bare minimum of cap space to get by.
Yeah, I think that's where a difference in opinions starts, because I don't care if the Lions re-sign Romeo Okwara. I don't
Or
really
Kenny
care
Galladay?
It depends. With Kenny Galladay, it depends on whether or not you're signing him to a long-term deal. If you're
Sure.
locking him in at $16.4 million for the 2021 season, what are we doing here? And I mean, because that just creates another cap obstacle. So I think it's just going to be so telling what happens over the next week, because it's going to be time for Kenny Galladay to either get that tag or to not get that tag. And it's also going to be really telling what the Lions decide to do in the draft with, the number 7 pick. If they go quarterback, then what are you going to restructure Jared Goff's contract for?
I just think it's hard to visualize this without putting like spreadsheets in front of people, but like
I know
their situation is dire without a Jared Goff restructure, and I think it's almost inevitable at this point. I not only think it's going to happen, I think it has to happen.
I've got everything I need, and I've watched you guys go back and forth. I'm with Jeremy in that I would restructure Jared Goff's contract. I wouldn't just do this just to try to get out from underneath this number too, but here's my thoughts on the matter, because it seems like everyone wants to run away from Jared Goff as soon as the future is secured. People think that'll either be this draft or in 2022's draft. People assume that it'll be secured and then we'll just run screaming away from Jared Goff. Let me offer a counter argument to that. And I don't have stats and I don't have a ton of stats to back it up, and I don't have a ton of numbers I can throw at you because A, I think those are for nerds. B, however, I also think that you also have to look at this from the point of just structural integrity. And we get very focused, I think, Jeremy, in efficiency. Like, because as you're saying, the big argument to not restructure Jared Goff's contract is, okay, well then in 2 years you can just walk away, no sweat, no problem. He's off the books completely. And now forgive me if I'm wrong. What you're basically proposing is moving his cap hit around, so it becomes like what, 5 million, an extra 5 million a year,
Essentially, yeah.
Or essentially, okay. I'm completely fine with that. That's not, in my books, huge. We're assuming, I think there's going to be a lot of teams in trouble this year with the cap. And I think what's going to happen as a result is that, especially if the NFL gets this big TV deal done before 2022, that cap is just going to rebound a bit. You'll get a little more wiggle room to play with. But also, like, doesn't it just make sense to have Goff? Like, I know people don't want to have Goff for 2023 or whatever, but doesn't it make sense to have that backup plan? To have a guy like Goff who Ryan's already shaking his head. He likes fear. There's a word: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD. Like, Goff is your FUD denier. Like, I'm sorry, like he is. It wasn't that long ago where he was getting Pro Bowl seasons. It wasn't that long ago where he was throwing pretty well. We can try to figure out why that decline has happened, or you can assume it was just a couple of bad years. I am the firm believer in that the book isn't completely written on Goff, and I'm not saying he should be a starter long term, but just in case he does blow you away next year, what, you've just decided, okay, well, we'll just trade him and still get a quarterback in the draft who we don't know who that quarterback is. Like, you should at least have something where you have a known value in Goff. The argument against restructuring Goff is basically like, we want to get out away from this guy as fast as possible. I don't know if that's right. I just don't know if that's the right way to go about it, because it could just all fall off a cliff when you're least expecting it. I think taking the hit to restructure it, especially as it's short-term relief, but it's also backing up your quarterback just in case things happen for a little longer too.
You want to respond to that, Ryan?
I've seen Ryan move a few times.
No, it's just that I don't want to run away from Jared Goff. It's just that restructuring limits your maneuverability and it ties your hands like past 2022.
I mean, this is the only one I would say I would want to restructure. Like, I mean, I don't know too much on. I mean, we should get to Vaitai and to Flowers at some point, but like, this is the main one I'm in favor of restructuring, just because, again, like,
right. Well, and yeah,
there has to be at least one of these has to give, and I'm just in favor of that one giving being Goff.
And then this one creates by far the biggest space, and to me, it doesn't change the timeline really much at all. It really doesn't. Like, yes, it'll take 5, 6, 7, whatever, 8 million out of your salary cap in 2023 if you decide to cut him after 2022, where you wouldn't before. But we also have to remember, unless there's 3 more pandemics, cap's going to be pretty big by then, and that's not going to really seem like a very significant amount. If it all works out and Jared Goff is great, well, great. I mean, you add a little bit more to his cap hit overall, but he's still on a base salary of $20 million in 2023, $21 million in 2024. That's a bargain for a good starting quarterback. So I don't think this changes the timeline at all. Like, it just adds a little bit of a more dent in your future, not a lot. Whereas, and I have to keep saying it, like, this is essential. The Lions need this extra 10 to 15 million bad. And that's just to get by. That's not to build a solid roster. That's not to compete in 2021. That ship has sailed. This is to, like, get to 53 players, period. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, again, like, I just think it also makes sense just to at least, like, as you say, Jeremy, you get a couple more years out of Goff on the contract. If you have to then eat that later, it shouldn't be that bad of a blow. And guess what? Like, you know, some guys I've seen some people on Twitter saying, like, you know, we should, you know, trade Goff if he plays well. Okay, good. You're going to need some years on that, so you can guarantee people will be willing to get some extra years rather than being a 1-year rental. And if he plays that well that you want to hold him around anyway, then hell, like, restructure it anyway so it doesn't accidentally walk in free agency or something. I don't know. Like, and this is, I think this blows my mind on this.
I think it was all part of the plan. Like, I saw someone in our chat say, like, this is, so the trade wasn't as good as we thought. Well, maybe, yeah, because I don't think a lot of people were looking at the Lions' overall financial situation at the time because, I mean, forgive us in the media, we were just in the middle of a coaching search, a GM search, and the starting quarterback getting traded. Maybe we didn't see the long-term effects here.
And then you also had the insanely rich-looking trade there. Oh, my God, 2 first-round picks and a quarterback and a 3rd round.
But the one benefit of assuming Jared Goff with 4 years remaining on his contract is that you can do exactly this. You can spread out his salary in this year over 4 years so it doesn't hit that hard in each year, and you're kind of okay. I don't know.
Ryan?
Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, we've been going long on this, so real quick, let's get to Vaitai. And who am I missing, Jeremy? Flowers? Yeah. Let's start with Flowers. Like, okay, so the Flowers question is, can you restructure Flowers? And I guess the question is, do I even want to? I think he's not a problem this year, but 2022, that contract, it gets big real fast, right? Because I believe his base salary goes from, like, just shy of 1 million in 2021 to 16 million.
No,
I mean 2020.
Well, yeah, that you're talking if the restructure happens, because right now his base salary is 14.3 million. So again,
yes, I'm sorry, I'm screwing up my numbers again.
Yeah. So if you want to restructure that again, that's when you're looking to restructure these contracts. You're looking for high base salaries this year. Jared Goff is one. Trey Flowers is not far behind him with 14.3 million. It's something you can create a lot of space, but this one is a little trickier here because he only has 2 remaining years on his deal. You're not kicking that can down the road very far. You're not spreading out that base salary very far. And restructuring Trey Flowers this year means that you are taking significant lumps in the next 2 years, and Trey Flowers is probably on the team for the next 2 years beyond this year. So we're talking 3 more years of Trey Flowers at a pretty high salary, and they're going to be much more significant hits in the next 2 years rather than Jared Goff, who I think has a somewhat manageable salary going forward. I don't think I'm in favor of this one because I'm not so sure Trey Flowers needs to be a foundation of this team over the next 3 years.
No, I'm willing to eat right now. I believe the potential out after 2022 would be like a 11.2 dead cap hit for that season. So I'm more than happy to try to just eat what we can of Trey Flowers for 2 years. And, you know, again, because you still have at least one more year of it, you can at least see what he is in 2021 with a new coaching staff too. Like, this is kind of the prove it year for Flowers. Do we want to restructure you, hold you out for longer, or are we just going to say goodbye after 2021? I think that's probably the wise way to look at Flowers' deal.
Yeah, with Flowers, I mean, I don't know if I don't know. I just think that if you're going to start restructuring contracts because you're so worried about your 2021 cat figure, then why not just do it with all these guys? Do it with Jared Goff, do it with Trey Flowers, do it with Vitae.
Well, there needs to be a delicate.
I don't want to do it with all.
You don't have to live on the extremes, though. You can do like, all right, let's just do what we have to get by, and not kick every can down the road. Like, why can't you do some and not all?
I don't know.
What? I'm trying to
We're
understand
getting
what
really
you
petty
think.
all
Like
of a sudden.
that seems ridiculous.
Okay.
What we do, Ryan? What happened? What happened here?
I don't know. Like just Jared Goff's contract. That's what happened. But the one other name that we haven't gotten to is Vitae, right?
Vitae, yeah. Let's wrap up the segment with Vitae. So
Vitae's base salary of $9 million, converting it to just $8 million difference for the signing bonuses. I think this one makes more sense than Trey Flowers, just because of the length of the contract.
Yeah, it does get spread out further. I guess the tricky part is that his base salary is just high the entire time. It's $9 million this year. It goes down to 6.5 the year after that, but then it's right back up to 8.9 for the next 2 years, and so it's going to cost you a pretty penny.
Yeah, especially for a guy who's probably going to play guard, so it would have been pretty sweet to just have Graham Glasgow instead.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think the thing for me with Vitae is I just don't know what he is still with the Lions. Like he was spent 2020 injured, and now it's a whole new coaching staff, and I don't understand. I don't know what their plan is for the offensive line, and offensive linemen just get better once they've had more time to play with their unit. And for Vitae, he's had like 10 games to play with the unit, I think.
That might be true, but even that seems high. I mean, he came into the season injured, came in as the starting right tackle, then moved to right guard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what the team thinks of him in terms of where he plays. We don't really know what his level of play is because he was nursing the injury, and it's. I feel like you maybe ride one year of this out and re-examine next year. I mean, you could even potentially get out after next year if you wanted. $4.2 million of dead cap. 4 million of savings.
It's just brutal to me. It's brutal to me because, like, again, trying to do analysis on this offensive line feels impossible, because the one thing you're not supposed to do with an offensive line is like move starters around and do the crazy rotations that Patricia and his guys were doing. Like, you don't shuffle around your offensive linemen like that. So like it completely disrupts the chemistry of how those guys play. And every NFL lineman I've talked to has said the same thing. Like I remember telling this to Lincoln Kennedy. He's like, you don't move us around. You don't ever do that. So I mean, like, what is Vitae? I don't know.
I think one interesting wrinkle that happened to the Lions this offseason is they added Deuce Staley, who has a rapport with Vitae from their time spent together in Philadelphia. So it'll be interesting to see how, offensive coordinator Anthony Lynn will maybe, and even Dan Campbell at large, being the head coach, how they'll rely on Deuce Staley's opinion of maybe where Vitae is best suited to play.
Yeah.
Do we want to go over really quickly some of the cap casualties on offense that we didn't hit in the first segment? Because we didn't, or do you want to save that?
I think we can save it. We're about 20 minutes in. We should take another break. Okay. We get to the other side of this and kind of wrap it all up pretty neatly. And I think that should be a good place to go with this very nerdy podcast. We spent a lot of time talking about numbers. And if you're confused, I'm certainly confused. This is a confusing subject. Like, I think fans like to think that they can grasp all this stuff. This stuff with the cap and moving things around is it's rough, man. There's so many ways you can play around with it. Just ask the Saints. But we're going to take a break here, and we'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Ryan, we love you.
No, you don't.
I barely even got to say anything in that conversation. It's just you and... Do we have any alerts here before I make a mess of things again?
Samurai Jack, thank you for the follow. And Lions Blood says, get Mike Disner on the podcast. Okay, yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah, that's easy.
That would be kind of interesting, though. having a
Disner,
Yeah, I know-
explain the salary cap to us like we're 5.
I do think it is a difficult subject for a lot of people. I know
Sure.
a lot of people want to talk about it, but I just don't think it's something that's, it's, as we say, like, there's so much creative math, and I think we're all still learning about it still some days too. Like,
Sure. It's tough to wrap your head around. Like, even just the concept of dead money is something that's ridiculously
yeah, and
overcomplicated.
I'm probably going to get a review calling me out and calling me an idiot and useless because I said the wrong number somewhere. But I mean, again, there's a lot of numbers being thrown around. We're looking at a bunch of different spreadsheets. Like, I challenge anyone who's like to just come in and whack it out of the park on the first try.
I do not challenge people to come in here and whack it. Let me just be clear here. Do not come in here and whack it. Not allowed.
I'm gonna start the whack.
Twitch.
I have a
Twitch will
drop.
not
I have
allow
a
that.
drop at Fox Sports Radio of one of my guys, Andy Furman, saying he's going to start the whack off right now, and I can somehow play that on the air. The FCC is a glorious thing.
Jeremy, you should become a cop with that mustache.
By the way, I like how sleek Ryan's going. I still think you should have kept the handlebars on that mustache, though.
I think it should just go away all completely.
How long do you have to have that?
I don't know. I don't think I really made any stipulations. I just said that if we got to $2,000, I would shave into a mustache.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And here's the thing: like, Jeremy is allowed to have his opinion about restructuring Goff's contract. I'm allowed to have my opinion of it, and I don't
That's what
hate
we're
him.
doing.
And I don't hate him for it.
Thank you. I don't hate you either.
Yeah.
We need a post Patricia meatball sub stimulus package from Nick the Greek.
Thank you for the 200 bits, Nick. Appreciate it.
I don't understand sometimes when we get bits in and some of the things people want us to read, it just doesn't.
You mean
Makes
you mean
sense.
just Nick the Greek?
Just Nick. He's
Just
the only one
Nick.
doing the bits.
Sorry, your pants are off. All right, pool. I mean, fits your name, pool noodler.
You all see Doris Burke's call talking about when to come and how hard to come at the shooter. I got to go find that. That'd be making a hilarious drop. I have of Susie Waldron. I think it is I think it's Susie Waldron with the. I forget how to say her. Yeah, with the Yankees. Is that her? It's Susie Walden. Susie Waldman with the Yankees. I have a drop of her saying, and now they're banging each other.
Now they're banging each other.
Yes. I forget the context. You guys can look up the context.
Yeah, just search whacking each other off in Google. You'll find it there.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I still want to see Logan Stenberg at guard. Never played last year. Yeah, Don. I'm curious as to what this team's plans are for Logan. Obviously, they're returning Hank Fraley, their offensive line coach, so he probably has some idea of what he wants in him. But I don't feel one way or the other on him right now. I don't think it was realistic to expect him to start at any point last year. I don't think the plan was him to start at any point last year. So I don't think he's behind schedule. I don't think he's certainly not ahead of schedule. So given that his reputation in college was kind of that, I don't know, that gritty kind of player. You have to imagine that's probably going to play pretty well with a guy like Dan Campbell, but you still have to be good. And so we just don't know where he's at there.
Or the Troy Aikman drop when he's talking about QB option play. He starts to come, then he pulls out.
Thank you, yeah, Detroit. I thought I had pulled us out of that conversation, but apparently not.
I just came right back into it.
Thoughts on the
Conrad
NFL
60
Go ahead.
Conrad 66.
ahead.
Why does Ryan hate the Lions? First with drafting Pitts in the other podcast, now the Goff restructure.
Why do you hate the way that I hate football?
Yay.
Talk about how
Drasaki asks, what are your thoughts on moving to a 17-game schedule?
So remind me, there's still only one bye week, right?
Yes.
It's
correct,
not two.
Correct.
Okay. That's a problem to me. That's ultimately my problem with the 17 game schedule. I think I think we're going to lose out this battle on how much more. Sorry if I'm adjusting my green screen again because it looks awful. We're going to lose out this battle on whether or not you should play 17 games, because the way this is going, people just want more football. People just want more football, and damn the costs on it. Damn, even though that there's like I know I've at least talked to a couple guys from like one guy who was a representative for the PA at one point, talking about like, look, man, like 16 just might be the limit on some bodies out there. Once you go past 16, you kind of have to start thinking about if like guys need some more rest time. And I think that's where a second bye week would have alleviated that. Not having the second bye week, like we see it all the time, right? Like some guys are just huffing it until they can get a late bye week. And some guy, and Lions, how many years we had where the bye week comes in like what, week 4, week 5?
Yeah.
And then it's just a butcher's bill to get to the end of the season. A second bye week should have absolutely gone in that if you were going to get 17 weeks. But I think, yeah, it's going to be weird for schedules because it's really not even for home away. And I think eventually they're going to try to push it to 18. I will say this, though, because I know we're not far removed from Super Bowl Sunday, and every older sports dad's favorite argument is that the Monday after the Super Bowl should be a holiday, which is dumb. Sorry, it is. Like you can't plan your timer.
I'm trying to connect the dots here. What does that mean?
My point is that with one extra week, no extra bye, like we've just moved the Super Bowl. We have to move the Super Bowl back a week, right?
No, I mean, what? I don't know what are they getting? I don't even know. Are they getting rid of if they're getting rid of 2 preseason games? Doesn't that kind of eliminate both those issues? Not having.
Oh, I thought they were just. I didn't think they were starting it earlier. I thought they were just adding a week on to the end.
I'm not even sure.
Well, if they are, all I'm saying is that would mean Super Bowl Monday falls on President's Day. So you get your holiday.
There you go. Okay, we win.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even care. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The 17th game.
I'm worried about starting it earlier just because A, like college football usually is like, hey, this is our weekend to shine, and B, like for some places it's still so damn hot. It's kind of hard to justify moving it earlier into August. You're dumb, Chris. It should be a holiday. No, you should not drink.
Wow. I didn't realize you were so straight edge, dude.
Yeah, man.
You're just saying that because you're on the West Coast now, and the Super Bowl ends at like 8:00 or something.
I mean, I usually have to go into work at like 10 p.m. that night anyway, so
you have no sympathy for the working man.
No, I really don't. Well, I am a working man, Jeremy. This is people trying to get their way out of work.
Yeah, but I don't know. 17 game schedule, to go back to that. I don't know. I don't think it's going to have that, like, 1 week is suddenly your body is not prepared for 1 week.
Mm-hmm. Apex Predator $5 on YouTube highlights this message saying, in the Army, we don't have to go to work until 9 a.m. the Monday after the Super Bowl. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
That's fascinating. 9 a.m. is like damn near a half day for the Army at that point.
That's a good point. Ryan, you look despondent.
What do you think, Ryan?
I think that there should just be 2 bye weeks regardless. Like if there were 16 games or 17 games. I mean, I think that the quality of play would just improve in the NFL. Like not saying that it isn't high already, but like I don't know. I hear it seems like every offseason I hear either former players talking about how playing in a football game is analogous to being in a car crash. So there's like 16 car crashes that you're in, every season. And it's like, you should definitely like give those guys an extra week off.
Yeah. No, I think I maybe I'm a little more radicalized on, and I agree with you, Ryan, just because again, like how many weeks we had with the Lions where it's like, hey, we have to do the bye week right now in week 4.
Well, yeah,
And
I
then
think
just getting to the end is just it's a butcher's bill at the end.
it's so disadvantageous to have an early bye week. Like you get penalized.
It's almost disadvantageous
way.
to have it's disadvantageous to have a late one too. It's almost like unless your bye week falls within like week 6, 7, 8, or 9, you're kind of screwed.
I mean, I don't know if you're screwed, but it definitely, I think it presents, additional obstacles for sure.
Yeah.
But
All right. Good question. Good discussion.
I mean, everyone's excited about it. It just means more football. It's going to be weird, right? Like we're just not going to, how are they going to figure that out as far as home away?
So the proposed thing that Peter King talked about today was that in 2021, all the AFC teams would get the extra home game. So so the 17th game is an AFC NFC game. You play one team in the other conference that finished in the same place in the division as you. So for the Lions, it would be the Denver Broncos. All the AFC teams would get that extra home game. So AFC teams would add 9 home games, 8 road games. All NFC teams will have 8 home games, 9 road games. That way, it's fair in terms of the playoffs.
And then it rotates. Next year you get 9 to the NFC. Okay.
Yep. And that makes sense.
It feels like it's just a stepping stone to 18, right?
Probably. I would think so. That to me was always the weird part about it, is that like suddenly you're having this, like 16 is just such a perfect number. It's divisible by 4. It's divisible by 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's it seems uniform, and then you make it.
I thought maybe they'd
17.
throw
It's
in
weird.
more like more games that were kind of like neutral site, but I don't know. Anyway, I know Ryan has to get done pretty soon, so we should probably get on and do this third segment.
Okay, let's do it.
Where were we at? So we've gone all over the place. Do you want to get to cap casualties on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, let's do that, and we can probably go short on this segment just because.
I know we're kind of near. We went long in the last one, so we can make this short, and then we can play some grab ass with chat.
Yep.
Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, wrapping up here. So we kind of got lost in the weeds of restructuring, but let's go back. I don't think we got to potential cuts on the offensive side of the ball, so we should probably round back around and get to that as someone brings a weed whacker close to my window because I live in a fantastic spot. Anyway, what do we think about Joe Dahl?
what do we think about you flexing that you live in California, that people are using weed whackers right now?
I'm not even trying to flex in here, man.
No, it's subtle. We get it. Joe Dahl. I like Joe Dahl. I like Joe Dahl as a player. I like Joe Dahl as an idea.
As an idea, as a philosophy.
Yeah. Good job, Joe Dahl. Like, I would imagine that Chris Spielman has an affinity for Joe Dahl, considering he coined that phrase.
He certainly does.
Yeah. It's tricky, right? Like, I would rather have Joe Dahl than Vitae, but the cap doesn't really dictate that if you're talking about like savings for 2021. So, it would suck to see Joe Dahl go, but at the same time, you have, an expensive guy like Vitae that you have to keep on the roster, and you have a potential replacement for him in Logan Stenberg. So it sucks, but see ya, Joe Dahl.
Yeah, let me run down the finances really
brutal.
quick. He's currently costing $3.1 million against the cap. You save everything but $250,000 if you cut him, so 2.9 almost of savings if you cut him. And like you said, Vitae is uncuttable at this point. He actually costs more if you cut him than if you keep him. So the question is, is Joe Dahl worth $2.8 million, $2.9 million? Can you find a replacement of his level for less than $2.9 million and then also have, worthwhile amount of cap space? And I think the answer is probably yes, because the one thing you have to think about here is Ode Ibushi essentially took the starting job away from him last year. And Ode Ibushi is a guy that'll cost you less than $2 million a year. He barely cost, I think he was just over $1 million last year for the Lions. And so if Ode's in there and he's playing at a pretty high level, you have to re-sign him. I think he can play at a Joe Dahl level. He doesn't bring the versatility that Joe Dahl brings, so you need to then find a backup center, or maybe Logan Stenberg's that guy. He was horrible at it during training camp, but maybe he's had a full year to practice and he's better at it now. But yeah, I think this isn't a cap hit that a lot of people are talking about, but considering how little of his contract is guaranteed at this point, I think it's a guy you have to consider highly, especially if you can get Ode Ibushi in there as your starter. I mean, again, a lot of it depends on what they think of Vaitai, but it's also worth mentioning that Spielman or was it Spielman or Anthony Lynn said that they like the offensive guard depth. They like the depth on the offensive line, specifically on the inside. So maybe that means they're keeping him. But I think this is a cap hit or cap casualty that you at least have to consider.
Yeah, and it sucks that we're the Graham Glasgow podcast, but like, I don't want to keep on, don't want to keep on pining over a guy who's already gone. But like, this is just another one of those things where it's like the sins of Bob Quinn are going to be lasting, at least for 2021, just because, it sucks because the alternative would have been Vaitai out, Graham Glasgow in. Then you don't have to worry about things like versatility, because there's another guy who could slide over and play center in a pinch, and there's a guy who could play guard. And I mean, backup, knock on wood, hopefully Frank Ragnow can play 17 games. It's going to take so long to get that in my vocabulary.
I
And
still
I'm sure
can't get it right. Like we can't have a 500 season anymore. There's so much of our vocabulary we have to change.
Ties 8-8-1, baby.
Oh God, that's even worse.
I would figure that somebody like you, Chris, would embrace that. But yeah, I guess my point at large is that, like, Brad Holmes inherited quite a difficult situation for him to navigate through. So the other cap casualty that I want to talk about that I alluded to back in the first segment, Jesse James is just I wanted to bring him up, right?
Yeah. I wanted to bring this up because I feel like, and I know why Ryan is so giddy to go on this one, and I wanted to call him on this because I feel like this is where, Ryan ties this podcast back to the other podcast, brings his vision of Lions 2021 full circle, because you're high up on Kyle Pitts. You're high up on Kyle Pitts, and suddenly we're getting rid of a tight end from the depth chart. I know you think he's a wide receiver and you can just line him up as a wide receiver, but get rid of Jesse James. Now we're in the clear to go for Kyle Pitts. And I'm not completely against it too, because like, what really did Jesse James do?
Nothing.
Nothing. I mean, Lions fans have been itching to get out of this contract from the minute it was signed. And 2 years in, it's been even worse than I think anyone could have imagined. The problem is the savings aren't that big. I mean, you wish they were bigger.
It's some savings, Jeremy.
It's some. It's 2.4 million, 2.1 million.
Done. Bye.
Yeah, done.
Someone who's
every little bit counts here, Jeremy.
It's only about a third of his cap hit. He's at 6.4 million. You're going to inquire 4.2 million of that in dead cap. Next year,
that's fine.
The number's a little bit nicer. You save 4 million instead of really the reverse. But I mean, yeah. I mean, what are you holding out hope for at this point?
A guy who did less than nothing.
Yeah, like, I think that this is the perfect example of taking your lumps now. Like, yes, I'm with you on board. Take your lumps now with Jesse James. Make it so you don't even have to think about it in the future. And listen, if Hunter Bryant is number 2 next year, so be it. Like, there are worse positions to be thin at than tight end. And if TJ Hawkinson gets injured, yeah, they're screwed. But who cares? It's right. Tight end.
And I think the other thing too, Jeremy, like, this is actually a pragmatic stance. Like, what does Jesse James do well? Like, not much. And he's not like the vision I think that he's not the vision that I think Dan Campbell and Anthony Lynn probably have for the offense in terms of like having a quote unquote like blocking tight end. That's not Jesse James.
Not good at that.
Then again,
not.
Jesse James isn't a receiving tight end either, so I don't really know what Jesse James is.
Don't like what does he do here?
Chat
So I
says
think you
cashes
actually
checks. That's what he does well.
We say he's Milton from Office Space, right?
I think you actually save more if you cut him after June 1st. Is that correct, Jeremy?
Yeah, if you give him the June 4th or June 1st designation, you do save a little bit extra money. But again, what good is that money in June when you need it now?
That's true.
Okay, but with that being said, say the Lions go the route of restructuring Jared Goff's contract. Well, then some of these guys are much more palatable and much more much better served to be cut after the post, June 1st designation, whether it's Jesse James or Justin Coleman, right?
Sure. Yeah, you could probably do that for at least one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, Jeremy, why don't you explain why is there a different number when you cut them after June 1st?
Yeah, so the short and long of it is that when you give them that June 1st designation, the dead cap is split between this year and next year. So it's not that money just doesn't disappear. It's kind of spread over the next 2 years. So it's a smaller way of kicking the can, but it's usually not that significant. So
yeah, so some of that savings from you're not really like over the long term saving anything at that point, but it's just you are spreading it. So some of Jesse James' dead cap would come in 2022.
Yes,
if you did that.
Yep. So it is. I mean, like I said, it's a small kicking of the can down the road, but not as significant as say a restructure.
No.
Yeah.
Are we out of guys here? Or I've got one more thing in the cart here, but I feel like I kind of want to. Ryan's holding up two, so I want to see what Ryan's holding up. Is one of them Kerryon Johnson?
Not, even though it could be. Like, I don't think you're saving that much money for a guy who
only saving less than $2 million. Yeah,
and I know it's for a guy who literally. We talk about taking your lumps, but like this is a guy who, was thought of as being like the next 3-down workhorse back. And I've always been thumping the table about, the best ability is availability. And this isn't a guy who meets that standard by any means. But when he is on the field and he is playing on third downs, like he's exactly the kind of guy that Deuce Staley says has to be on this roster. Like if you can't block, then there's no spot for you on this roster. Well, Kerryon Johnson does that very, very well. So I just don't think that cutting him makes a lot of sense because you don't save a ton of money. And I think he does something that can really service the betterment of the offense.
I'm with you there. I don't see the value in cutting a guy who's only 1.3 million against the cap or whatever it is. He's just over 2 million for the cap.
I also don't think they're bringing back Adrian Peterson, so you at least want your a number 2 or number 3 running back for your roster figured out. You'll probably pick one up in the draft.
Right, and Jeremy's already I see the steam coming out of his ears, so that might be part of the reason why. Because if you have Swift and Kerryon Johnson, you don't have to prioritize getting a running back until day 3. So, which I think is something that Jeremy is a fan of. So the one other guy that can be a cap casualty is everybody's favorite backup quarterback, Chase Daniel. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Yep. That's fine. That's totally. So I'm trying to find where I have so many tabs open right now, and I'm so thrown off by some of the stuff. But what's the value over Blau at this point?
Cap hit right now is at 5.3 million. You save 2.3 million of that if you cut him. That's not huge numbers for a quarterback, obviously, but you have David Blau, and is there that big of a difference in talent between David Blau and Chase Daniel?
You have to go into the season with a backup and maybe a third string quarterback. You just have to, and maybe the Lions take a waiver on a guy, even if they pick up a quarterback in the first round or whatever. And even if they don't, even if they kick that can to 2022. I think they're probably going to pick up a quarterback. Like they're going to, that's one tradition they'll keep over Bob Quinn. Just take a quarterback each year, pick up someone in on day 3, see what he can do. He's not going to win over Jared Goff, but at least put him on there. That guy plus Blau plus Goff. That's your depth chart for quarterback. You're all set.
And I think so. And let me know if you agree with me, Jeremy, or not. But like the Lions' stance for 2021 should be growth. And what really possibilities does Chase Daniel offer you as like a developmental quarterback? None really, right?
No, I mean his only worth, I think, to the Lions organization would be to help Jared Goff. And that might be something worthwhile. He's 26 years old. You're not going to probably be surrounding him with a ton of offensive talent in terms of weapons, so maybe a veteran mind in there in his ear will help kind of. I mean, the Lions are trying to turn Jared Goff into a reclamation project, right? And so having a guy like him around might help.
But it's also a new system for Chase Daniel.
Sure, but he's
not
been
like
around
he's coming in and yeah.
I think honestly, like, you have Mark Brunell, so why do you need Chase Daniel?
Mark Brunell could be the new player coach too.
Yeah, that's essentially what he is. I mean, it really is.
Two or three guys,
he's not going to come out and go on the field, but like to me,
are you sure?
No, I guess not.
Madden 2001 me wants to see Mark Brunell suit up in Honolulu blue.
Here's my solution to the quarterback problem. You get rid of Chase Daniel, you promote David Blau to backup, you sign Sean Mannion as your third string. Like, I don't like that sucks, but who cares?
Sean Mannion. Yeah, that's fine.
And I mean, your opinion on Chase Daniel may vary, but it seems like Chase Daniel was a signing for the Lions and Bob Quinn to be like, hey, if things go sideways or sour with Matthew Stafford, we aren't completely throwing in the towel on the season because we have a competent backup quarterback. And like I said, your opinion on Chase Daniel is going to vary. I don't think he was ever that guy, but like to have a quarterback that is like, in case of emergency, we can rely on this guy. Like the Lions, like that shouldn't be part of their operating procedure for 2021. Like it should be all about like development and whether or not they can turn a guy like David Blau into potentially somebody that a team might covet or want, a la Jake Rudock.
There's a lot of.
I thought it was a good point. Thank you, Ryan.
No, I agree with you. You're right, Ryan. Ryan, you are right. You are a lovely human being, Ryan, and in this regard, you are right.
I don't even want to be right. I just want to be valued.
I'm sorry, I can't even hear the name Jake Rudock without giggling. Like it had nothing to do with your point. It's just you summoned Jake Rudock and it made me laugh.
Hey, let me summon somebody else. Ready?
I already know
Brad
who it's gonna be.
Kaya.
Yep, I already knew it was gonna be.
All right, we got to close up the podcast with that. We can't let this go. Ryan's basically trying to summon Candyman or whatever, like one of those like evil things that you say 3 times. So before he does that, we're getting out of here. At Christopher Fed on Twitter for myself, at Detroit on Lion for Jeremy, excuse me. It's been a long day. Ryan, don't give me that look. Ryan at Ryan_POD. Download the podcast. Give us a bunch of stars. We've been really messy this podcast, but we think that's some of our off-season charm. When we come back next week, we're going to keep going because it's March now. Anyone do their finest John Rothstein? This is March? No? Jeremy doesn't even know who that is, so he doesn't care about
his name. John Rothstein. I know that.
Yes.
This is March guy. I didn't know. Sure.
Yep, his name is John Rothstein.
Okay.
Yeah. Why? What reason do you have to doubt me on this, Jeremy?
Because you're bad with names.
It is John Rothstein. Go look it up right now. And with that, we will see you Starside. Okay. Somehow we got to the end of there.
You got to go, Ryan?
I'll give you 5 minutes of my time.
Okay.
Oh, how generous. Let me get rid of the bots.
I do have a question to ask chat. Because I do want to, first of all, we didn't get partnered on Twitch because we don't stream enough. But I think we hit every other goal.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
I want to stream a little bit more, which gives 2 questions to you guys. 1, what sort of content do you want? 2, I want to continue to do First Bite on a regular basis. Are there any guests that you want us to try to take a swing at, other than Mike Disner? So let me throw that to you, chat.
We have a short list. We have some guys we absolutely want to invite to First Bite already.
Yeah, I mean,
and
we could essentially empty the Detroit Lions media guys, cupboard and get basically any of those guys, I believe.
Stringer,
Carlos,
Stringer,
Spielman. Yeah, I mean, Quandre Diggs. The thing is, we could probably start swinging at some players, but we have to be sure that they're going to be on the team next year. I don't know if I could get Spielman. I mean, I can ask. There's no harm in asking, I suppose. Yeah. Dan Miller. Ooh, that's a good one. Ragnar.
I know for this week, are we going to necessarily have our guy for this week? Can we say who that's going to be, or
I have not.
I
have not.
Okay.
I think we need to talk about that off stream because I don't. I was hoping if we were gonna, I'll just tease it. It was gonna be another Lions beat guy, but
he's a friend.
I don't know if we have any other topics to talk about that we didn't kind of something needs to happen, and we are gonna get press conferences this week. Spoiler alert! I can't get into details because I'm not supposed to divulge that sort of stuff, but we'll get some press conferences this week because normally we would get them from the this would be Combine Week, and Combine Week you get the GM, you get the coach, so we're going to get those this week. Maybe there'll be some news there, but
Jack Fox would be a good get. Jack Fox, I would go for Jack Fox.
I don't want. First of all, he's not under contract yet, so no. And second, he's a punter.
Dude, I've told you before, man, some of the best, you can't go with the biggest guys for the best interviews.
No,
I
know. Pat McAfee, blah, blah, blah.
No. But just even backup OL guys give the best interviews. It's not always the big guys.
Cynthia Frohlein. How do you say your last name? Freyland. She's the analytics person from NFL.com, right? I've heard good things about her. Yeah. I haven't met her before, though. He was a Pro Bowl, Jeremy. Don't doubt the Fox. Yeah. Pat McAfee would be offended. Well, Pat McAfee told me to F off, so big deal. Kick rocks. Take an effing hike. I don't know. Tori Petrie, I could potentially. Did we get her on
Man Cov?
She was on Man Coverage. I believe we could probably.
I think she was. Yeah. I'd have to go back and look. It's not been a great week for me, so I'm kind of behind the eight ball. I've got a couple guys I'm working on too. I am insanely what's the word I'm looking for? Superstitious. So I don't like revealing any kind of hand I have before I have it locked down.
Right.
So I won't say anything.
Yes, he did really say that to me, by the way. Yes.
Dan Dockich.
Yeah.
I saw Agnew. Don't forget that I saw Agnew.
Maybe I should try to get Deuce. Right? I feel okay. If I'm going for a coach, I feel like I have to go for Deuce.
He'll come on for the cool mustache.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll reach out.
No
I'll try. I'll swing Deuce first. That'll be my first. Then maybe Spielman in terms of coaches and front office people.
Willard Robinson, you must hate life to be a Lions fan. I don't know about Ryan and Jeremy. 100% the correct for my case.
Meh. There are worse curses in life than liking a bad football team. I think I can get by. Really quick with the Pat McAfee story. I called him out on Twitter for perpetuating a bad rumor earlier in the offseason that came from a Denver radio station. And I'm like...
It wasn't even from a Denver radio station. Wasn't it from that one guy who writes for the Denver newspaper who's just perpetually wrong?
I don't know. I don't remember exactly who it was. But anyways, it was a bad rumor that I thought shouldn't have been just haphazardly spread. And even in the segment that they covered him, they're like, oh, this Detroit radio guy. And then halfway through, they realized it wasn't a Detroit guy. And then they're like, is this even true? And then the tweet was like, rumor says this. And so on like 30 minutes later on the show, they're like, then there's this guy Jeremy on Twitter. Go take an effing hike. Kick rocks. This is what we do. We have to fill time. We talk about rumors. And that's it. That's that.
Kind of has a point.
Sure. Yeah. If you don't care about your own credibility, he has a point.
No, I think if you lead it with, I think his problem is like he just doesn't like shooting back at you is weird. B though, like as long as you just present it as a rumor, it's fine. There were so many weird rumors going around. Like everyone's wrong about JJ Watt today, right? Like every last person, even the respected B people, everyone's fucking wrong about JJ Watt.
That was pretty stupid. I think that's embarrassing that people like, why would you take an unverified, I don't even know if there are verified Peloton accounts, but like, why would you spread that based on like, I thought that was embarrassing for every professional NFL person who put that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in an age of misinformation, so I think people should take responsibility for what they talk about on the air. And listen, I know Pat McAfee's job is all about instantaneous. Like, news breaks in the middle of their show, they want to talk about it immediately so they can put out a clip and all that sort of stuff. But I thought it was irresponsible. And I know you have a lot of time to fill up. I know, again, my issue was that they were vetting the source in the middle of the show while they were talking about it. Take 5 minutes during your break.
That's for a producer. That's not even for a break. Like that's something your producer should be doing before they feed you the question.
Exactly. Yeah. That was my issue. And I think I have a point.
No, like I've definitely, I just know from working radio, like there's different like workflows for this kind of stuff too. But yeah, if you're doing a show like that, like I don't, sometimes the hosts wild out, they see something and they feel like they have to talk about it. That's again, the role of the producer. The producer needs to kind of be your eyes and ears to like get that before you can jump out ahead of the skis.
Agreed on all that. Anyways, I don't care. Like I know he's more in the entertainment business than the breaking news business, but I still think there's a level of accountability you should have. That's it.
You should return a kick against Pat McAfee to get back at him.
I think that they should have a punting contest.
Nope. I will only go against fellow Lions beat writers, not former NFL punters.
Lambo Rambo saying for us to go get Mike Valenti.
No.
No.
You know what? I wonder what Terry Foster's doing though. I really do. I'm kind of curious. It's been rough for him after that. What is Valenti's issue? Is he even a Detroit sports fan? So I know he's at least Michigan State.
No, he's from New York. So he's like,
he's from New York.
He's New York, but he's really weird. Like he's a Yankees fan. He's a Celtics fan.
Well, like here's the thing. Like you don't have to be a fan in the market you cover. You don't have to be a fan of those teams, but you should do it fairly. The sin that I feel like Valenti conducts is just a lack of yeah, I know my green screen's dying on me because it's getting darker in here. I just don't have enough lights to really make it work. The sin I have with Valenti is, as someone who works in radio, is like you really can't be you really can't shut down. Like if you're going, it doesn't matter if you're not a fan of the teams or if you think those teams are bad, you still have to talk about it. Like I was aghast when he went on the air and basically said, I don't want to talk about the anniversary of the Malice at the Palace because that bores me. What the fuck are you talking about? That's like one of the most memorable moments of like Detroit sports history. And you're not going to, it's the anniversary of the Malice at the Palace. At least give one, even if you don't want to talk about it, find someone who will talk about it. Like, I'm sorry.
That's what Valenti was probably at his most tolerable when he had Terry Foster to balance him out as a foil because Terry Foster was like rooted in Detroit and like
and he had energy. And Foster had energy and he wanted to talk about these things.
Yeah, one of the funniest things because one of my buddies who I catch a ride with to and from work, now on the way home from work, I hear Valenti and he's got this guy named Rico who just essentially sticks his nose up his ass and like agrees with everything that Valenti says. And
Yeah,
and
look,
and Wojo actually called him out on it when they were doing like their crosstalk, and he was like, "Sure, I could tune into the 2 to 6 show where Rico just is Mr. Yes Man and agrees with everything Valeni says and doesn't have an opinion." And Valeni and Rico were all yeah. It's like, dude, but what happens? Like Rico has like some awesome opinions that are just awful. Like hearing them talk about the NFL just makes me makes my head spin. It's bad.
Yeah, listen, some guys don't do well unless they have a competent two to check them on things. Like some guys, it's hard to do a solo show too. So I know some guys even who are doing just it sounds like a one. I like to call it a 1.5. We're kind of getting this weird age, like where I call it a 1.5, kind of like how, Dan Patrick, he's ostensibly solo, but there are days where he just leans the hell hard on the Danettes if you listen to that show.
Yeah, that's why
I feel like that situation's a 1.5.
I hate to be like too nostalgic, and I don't think that this is having an effect on that. I think it's more to what you were talking about, Chris, about like having 1.5. Like back when Valeni was his most tolerable, it was like 2.5 because it was Foster and it was Matt Derry who was producing.
Yes.
And I mean, that was like a home run team. So like,
yeah, sometimes producers become characters themselves. And yeah, I mean, like I run at least one show where it's basically 2.5. The fellas on Fox is like, I mean, every one of us can chime in, but it's Anthony Gargano, Lincoln Kennedy, and then our update anchor, Kevin Figures. He's in there all the time too. Like there's a lot of ways to do radio, but my point is that chemistry is hard to get, especially if like one guy clearly has more energy for it than another guy, or clearly has a different opinion on how things should fall out. When you lose a check like Terry Foster, it hurts because you don't have someone there checking your homework the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Right, Jeremy? You love 97.1, the ticket.
Sure. I love talking about him. Someone wanted a sports shouting segment, so this is what I'm going to do. Hold on. Why is that one? Whoops.
Oh, no.
Whoops. Hey!
I saw you're getting...
There we go. That was all for that. Anyways, yeah. Let's talk more about 97.1, a competitor. That sounds fun.
I was burying them, so...
We can't talk about other Lions podcasts or Chris will throw a shit fit, but we can talk about 97.1.
Well, hold on. The only reason why I was talking about 97.1 is why I don't want Mike Valeni on our show. like why? This is... Hold on. Let's do an old bit. This is exactly what Vince McMahon would never allow with WCW. Like, you don't talk about the other product on air.
I just don't think we're competing with 97.1. I think it's like a completely different field.
They're literally on Twitch with us at the same time.
I think we're competing against ourselves. With that being said, I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat dinner. It's finally time for me to be done working today.
All right. Later.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye, Ryan. By the way, I don't know if you see this, chat, but speaking of like Detroit things, look at our sub number right now.
Where do I see the sub numbers?
Bottom right.
Oh, 313. Nice.
313.
Cool.
Call
me when we get to 419.
I don't know what that is. Probably
TOLEDO.
Ew.
Energy, emotions all over the plate. This is a very contentious podcast. I like something happened. We rolled the calendar over to March, and everyone's hormones are just all over the place.
Well, I think the problem is just there hasn't been an inch of Lions news, so we're just like
we've certainly hit.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like it's that scene in Master and Commander where we were all like giddy. Have you seen Master and Commander? Before I get into this?
Nope.
Okay. So there's a scene where they're chasing a ship and they're all giddy. They got the wind and everything. It's like, yeah, we're going to get these guys. It's a British ship chasing a French ship. And then all of a sudden it just, bam, no wind, dead sun staring down at you. Like, ship's not moving for weeks. That's pretty much, we were basically in the soup.
Sure.
You should watch Master and Commander.
You have just the most random analogies.
Because I don't watch. My movie watching
Just-
habits
just-
is
Reference a Marvel movie. I'll even
No.
get it, and I don't even like Marvel movies.
I haven't watched
I
a
know.
Marvel movie since the first Iron Man.
I know, I just said that to make you mad.
No, actually, wait. I did see Doctor Strange and I hated it.
Someone needs to buy 107 subs. Well, now 106, because I don't know where that extra one just came in from. What's the current sub goal at? We don't have a current sub goal. Maybe we should. But I kind of put a hold on the mustache stuff because we raised $2,000, which means I got to keep this thing for at least 3 more weeks.
I want a stream idea. We should do a watch along with Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
Absolutely not.
4 free hours, Jeremy.
Nope. I know I said I needed to do more streams. We need more stream ideas. That is not an idea. Yeah, I don't know. But if you guys do have like actual like lines, or one thing I think we'll do at some point is do a weekly mock draft with the crowd. So we'll just have like the Draft Network's mock draft on screen.
Twitch
a panel
plays
of us.
mock draft.
Yeah, something like that. And,
should.
and yeah, you guys will help us make picks and things like that. We'll probably do that every week, and we can rotate through guests on Pride of Detroit for that as well, so that we have fresh faces, fresh opinions, things like
Should
that.
we maybe do you want to we have something going on Locker Room. Did you want to talk about that, by the way?
Oh yeah,
I totally forgot to do it on the podcast stream.
true.
But
Yeah, if you guys haven't heard or seen of it yet, we are doing weekly chats on Saturday mornings, when we normally would do our Madden Sims on an app called Locker Room, which works if you know Clubhouse, and it's an app where basically it's an audio chat room where there's a handful of speakers, everyone else is listening, but the people that are listening can also request to speak. So we use that as an opportunity. If you have a question, you can come, you can request to speak. We'll bring you on, you ask us a few questions, and then we'll let you go. If you have an opinion, one thing we didn't do the first time around on Saturday is ask questions to you guys and maybe bring you guys aboard to give your opinions. We're always our first session went amazing. It went really, really well, clean as hell. There is obviously a concern about trolls and things like that, but I think you have to use your real phone number, your real name.
and I can always cut you out of the podcast too.
True, yeah. But yeah, the Locker Room was a lot of fun. Hopefully you listened to it if you weren't there live. But if you want to join, you got to download the Locker Room app. Unfortunately, it's iOS only at the moment. So if you have
Which
Android,
means I'm not on it.
Yeah, that's the only reason Chris hasn't been on it. But yeah,
Sorry,
it's
I'm poor.
10:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday mornings is when we do it. So download the app, join us there. Make sure you follow at Pride of Detroit on Locker Room so that you can be in there.
We should do more Madden stuff. I know I got a free copy because that version of Madden was very poorly reviewed, and they started giving us all out that stuff for free. I know we've talked about maybe having like more video game streams. We just we've been bandying around. I'm just looking for a raison d'etre, I think.
Yeah. I'm out of ideas with Madden Sim right now. It'll be easier to do once the Lions do, get some free agents. Like we can just put the free agents on the team and see what happens. But yeah, Baltimore Pete Dunn says video game streams are fun. I recommend them. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
We're working like this delicate balance right now because we want to stream a lot. We also want to keep our viewer count high, especially above the 75 threshold, so that we can get that partnership on Twitch.
Oh, crap.
The video game streams on their own don't do it, though. Man streams do. But, like, if we just started playing Rocket League or Fortnite or I don't know, Call of Duty, I don't think we'd have the viewers that we normally have during one of these podcasts. Unless we score in a guest, unless we hook in a Lions player. And even then, like, when we were playing with Graham, I don't think we were getting that many views.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got a text from work, so I'm like trying to juggle this at the same time too about some sort of spot or something. Yeah, I've been really busy myself, so I really want. What does partnership do for us, Jeremy? I think that's the next question.
Great question. It allows us to have a few more opportunities in terms of, well, for you guys, it means one, we can create a team stream, which means like Reno could be part of the Pride of Detroit Twitch, team, and Chris can, and anyone else who has a stream, and More emotes. We have 300 subs, which means we could have like 30 emotes by now. If we were partnered, means that one goal of mine is to potentially host a Thursday night football game on Twitch, because Twitch allows certain content creators to do that during Thursday night football. And as far as I understand, Amazon is going to continue to have rights for Thursday night football. And if we're partner, I think we have a chance at it, maybe. And I mean, there's other minor stuff, like we could probably get promotional deals and things like that, stuff that you probably don't care about, but we do, because none of us are getting paid very much. But yeah, and then other stuff like VODs will be saved a little bit longer. So if you miss an episode and you want to watch it on Twitch, it'll be saved for like 90 days instead of 30. If you want to go back and like fact check us and be like, you said this wasn't going to happen 3 months ago, I'm going to go back and check it out. But yeah.
Real quick to go back to YouTube chat, because I see once again, like I know I'm trolling Ryan a bit, but I mean, if you guys are mad about the idea of Kyle Pitts as a pick in the first round, again, to go back to what Ryan said, you just haven't watched him. Like, it wouldn't be an SO. I know Don Burr is in there once again, wilding out, but it would not be an SOL move at all. Pitts is. Pitts might as well just be a prime slot receiver for you. I had no problem with Pitts.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched Pitts, so I can't really give an informed opinion on it. I know a lot of people say he's basically a wide receiver. I think I've seen a couple of people say, yeah, a lot of people don't have Kyle Pitts as their number one tight end on their board because they view him as a wide receiver, but that's just
I think for me at the end of the day, and one of the things I'm grappling with a lot too, and I know this doesn't make me sound great sometimes, but I believe that unless you've given me reason to think you're a moron, if you're a GM, I'm going to assume you know what you're doing up there until you don't. And if Brad Holmes says, hey, we want to take Kyle Pitts at 7, then I mean, that's what I should doubt that just because Brad Holmes is smarter than me. Brad Holmes is
He's
smarter.
Also got a hell of a lot more information than you do.
Yes.
And that's something that shouldn't be overlooked. How about a stream of me watching tape? Because he doesn't. I do watch tape. It just takes me a while. I don't want to waste all my time right now because I don't even know what the lines are going to be targeting.
You're not Ron Jaworski. You don't magically have 500 hours to watch tape.
I have played with the idea of watching, like scouting tape on Twitch. I am concerned about the legalities of it. Like, as someone who's trying to get partnered, I don't want like Twitch people going through our VODs and being like, oh, this guy's, using unlicensed or licensed college football tape that he's not supposed to be restreaming. Like, I don't know. I want to be careful.
No, that is a tricky spot to be in. It's one of the weird, because like, where would you get the scout tape from? Who would that be under? Would it be like, because it wouldn't always just be like ESPN broadcasts, right? It would be
I don't know, like Twitch seems to be so loose with a lot of those rules. Like people can just watch YouTube videos and react, and then suddenly it's original content because it's their reaction to a YouTube video. And so I don't know. It's something I'll think about, but I don't know.
It's something I think a lot of fans would like, but again, I don't think they realize like the amount of rights that it takes to get that kind of stuff, and how little fry we are to be able to get that kind of stuff.
Right. Just sync up the YouTube vid and just say, hey, start watch this clip right now. I could do that, but I don't think a lot of people are actually going to do that.
You'd be surprised. That's why I'm suggesting a watch along for, Justice League.
Well, I mean, we could literally do watch parties through Amazon Prime.
Snyder's Justice League is not going to be on Amazon Prime.
No, thank the Lord it isn't. Do you get the all 22s? Not in college. I have NFL Game Pass, which I can watch all 22s in the pros. But again, I would probably not.
I'm imagining those are controlled by the universities themselves because it's on so many different networks. Like, I don't think you even get the option to do that.
Can we get a free Zazu cameo? I don't know. Does anyone want to pay for one first? Not literal
Here,
payment.
I'll
channel
throw it to them.
There you go. Zazu, come here. Come here. Come. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Oh, you've been doing a big stretch. Come here. There he is. It's been a while. Oh, he's sleeping.
Yeah, it's just a weird part of the sports calendar right now because like I don't feel like cool cat. So the thing is with this green screen setup, it's really hard for Ruby to get to me, and it's really hard for me to get to Ruby. So I think at some point I will bring Ruby back in. I apologize. Yeah, this offseason has turned brutal real fast. Like, and it for me who wants to be an all sports guy, like it's worse too that the NBA is just brutally boring right now. Brutally boring on the NBA side of things, to the point where I'm probably going to end up watching more baseball this year than I am NBA, which is fine because I want to get back into covering the Tigers a little bit. I enjoyed the Tigers. I don't know if I'd enjoy them right now, but at least I want to watch some baseball.
Ooh,
Baseball makes me feel like
a rare Zazu bark on stream. You guys just got a treat. You don't even
watch
understand.
Luka. Mavs are exciting. I guess I think the problem is like when I was at the height of like the NBA. I mean, again, I feel like such an old man saying this, but like I just remember kind of for me the golden age for like NBA watching. We'd watch any team you want would be like it was when LeBron was with the Heat because there were so many different teams out there. There were so many different cool stories. There was Lance Stevenson and all those crazy freaks with the Pacers who were just being knuckleheads. There was, the Thunder and the Clippers were all threats as well. Like there was a multitude of teams and stories that they were all imperfect, but they at least like were interesting. It just feels like we're just all kind of sleepwalking, waiting until we get to the finals, the semifinals, where we're going to have like Lakers, Nets, and maybe one other team maybe in the mix. I know I'm trying to get into the NBA. Again, like I just kind of banged someone for not being curious about sports, and I don't know. I think everyone's kind of frazzled a little bit with the NBA too, because someone keeps pointing this out. Like we just said goodbye to the NBA. Not like this was a really short off season for the NBA. Really, really short. Which is always funny because we have to deal with the longest off season ever when it comes to the NFL.
This is March. That's all that matters. This is March.
Number
2 team in the league, in the country.
Sure.
I can care about Michigan basketball now because it's March. I didn't care until the clock hit midnight last night. Now I care. Now it should be number one. That's right. That's right. Again, I haven't watched a single Michigan basketball game because the clock did not
parachuting in.
The calendar did not say March 1st. But now that it is, I can unequivocally say Michigan should be the number one team in the country. Have either you been watching the Red Wings? I've watched a few games here and there. LJ, we're a basketball school.
I'm not really into hockey.
Hockey's amazing. I just wish the team was better.
It's fine. It's just not for me.
Yeah, that's what I feel about baseball.
Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine. I like baseball, rugby, and all sorts of weird stuff. Like I just kind of accept that my interests in sports are different from most other people, except for the NFL is like the one touchstone where I can get to be a normal human being. Then once it's done, I'll go watch rugby and sumo wrestling. Baseball does not suck.
Yeah.
So this is where we're at, Jeremy. We're just sitting here trying to figure out something to stoke these fires on the stream.
I mean, it's probably time to go. Let's be honest.
Is it though? I feel like I don't get to talk to you outside of this, and I'm just exhausted.
Well, if you're exhausted, then go get some rest.
No, I like being here. It staves off the exhaustion. I've slept enough today.
The sport where you can lose 50 games and still be considered a winner? Was that hockey? Is that what you're talking about? You're talking about baseball. Baseball.
Yeah. 50. If you only lose 50 games, you're like the best team in baseball. Are you kidding me? Manfred is going to make it suck worse. Yes, he is. Like this whole, like everything he's talking about to try to change extra innings is like just an abomination. Tarkov servers are down. I got nothing to do until 10. Three of us should play Fall Guys. I think Fall Guys fell off pretty quickly for us.
It did. I mean, I still
no
enjoy
pun
it,
intended.
but yeah.
No, when there's a new season, I'll jump back in now and then. But I don't really feel like grinding on Fall Guys.
Okay, serious question: would you prefer that Detroit makes some moves to compete in the next 2 years, or collect capital and develop? I think we would all agree. We're without completely committing to it. I think most of us have committed that the next 2 years have already had the towel thrown in a bit.
Yeah, listen, I don't like when I don't like to say I prefer to talk about what is in reality versus what I want. What I want is stupid. What I want is stupid by every universal metric. I think at the end of the day, yeah, it is going to be collected for the long run. That said, I just don't think a rebuild is going to take as long as people think either.
I think they can compete in 3 years. I think the next 2 years are a wash. Like, I don't think anything's
yeah. Which is bad for us because we need to figure out something to talk about.
Well, maybe they'll just be really bad, and that'll be something to talk about. Or Dan Campbell's going to be entertaining. He's going to be something to talk about every time he steps in front of the mic. So that'll be something.
He's going to be fun unless you're someone like Colin Cowherd and you just hate the idea of your coach not looking like a Fortune 500 CEO or something.
Well, that's certainly not me. I am not Colin Cowherd. So I'm
What's
set.
worse, a French ref in an England-Wales game or Green Bay-Detroit refs? Green Bay-Detroit refs.
Talk about a question that is not for me.
Yeah, I know. That's why I took it. If POD was a football team, what position would each of you play? I'm useless, so offensive line, I guess.
Oh God!
No, that's to me. It's the offensive line. In the fact that backup offensive.
I guess that brings up the most. Another interesting. What is the most useless position in football?
Fullback.
Fullback's pretty good. That's actually a really good answer.
Right in my mind. Right there, ready to go. I don't know why teams still carry fullbacks. I'm sorry.
I don't know what my answer would be. Maybe kicker? I don't think I'm a good kicker, though.
Third string quarterback?
No. I don't even want to get... I don't want a risk of getting hit at all. My frail little body. I guess kicker, there is that threat. How dare you, sir? About what? Oh, Pat Ricard. Is that your fullback over there in Baltimore?
Yeah. No, fullbacks. I don't care.
There was a movie about POD. What would be the plot? Oh God. No. Now you're getting into the.
Have you seen Uncut Gems? That's my answer to that question.
Oh Lord.
Speaking of which, we didn't get to it on the stream, but Ryan got you to gamble.
For 12 hours, I gambled.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm out.
And you spent at least 72 hours then trying to open and close that account.
Ryan got me an in for what I don't even remember what sports site it was. He was like, if you sign up, you deposit $100 and then you make a $20 bet, we'll give you $200 in free bets.
That sounds like a FanDuel promotion.
It wasn't FanDuel. I don't remember what site it was, but yeah, I mean, it's FanDuel-ish. But
one of the books he used.
So here's the things that you need to know. One, I don't know what a free bet is. I didn't know what a free bet is. I do now. I assumed a free bet was essentially, here's $100 that you have to bet on our site, and you get whatever back in return. If you win and you don't, you don't. And so I assumed, okay, I'm going to beat the system here. I'm going to place these $200 of free bets on the best odds ever. So something that's minus 30,000 and I'll get my 117 cents back. So that way I'll just be in $200 in richer and not have to worry about it, and boom. But what I didn't know is that a free bet, you don't get the money that you put in back. You only get the profit. So if you put a $100 bet on a minus 30,000, you get the 17 cents. You don't get the 117 cents if you win. You just get the 17 cents.
Hoisted by his own petard.
But I found a workaround, which is that I could split the bets. I could split the $100 bets into two $50 free bets. And what did I do? I placed them on the same game on opposite sides.
He hedged.
Completely hedged my bets so that $50 on one team minus 110, $50 on the other team minus 110. Either way, I was going to walk out with $47 that I didn't have to begin with. And so I should have walked away with 80, but I didn't realize it until I was halfway through. So I walked away with an extra like $48 in my pocket, closed my account quickly thereafter. And there you go. I made $50 in a day.
Give Ryan a betting segment stream. I would actually like to do that myself, to be honest. I'd like to, maybe I'll host that with Ryan. I do enjoy talking about sports gambling. I don't have disposable income to gamble with 80% of the time. But I do like talking about it. I love talking about it.
I despise it. I think it's dumb. I think a lot of people lose a ton of money over it that they probably would be wiser to not lose.
You should spend your time on Super Squares, clearly.
Yeah, it's free. No risk of losing anything.
I lose my time having to watch all those ads. And take
that you'd otherwise be spending doing what? Not winning a gaming chair, that's for sure. Not winning $1,500 of Amazon money like I did.
Okay. Condiments you put on a hot dog.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, some of the best hot dogs I've done have been Seattle style lately.
I don't even know what that is. Is
that's fine.
Fish?
No. Oh. It is Lent, so don't tease me. I do want to say on the food topic,
I can't say the word fish during Lent. That's teasing me.
No. It makes me just think about how many fillet of fish I just ate last Friday. I was gonna say I found probably the best Euro place since I've moved to LA, so I'm happy now.
There you go. Thank you, Dubious. Appreciate you. Have a good night, man.
Thank you, Dubious.
I don't know. I think hot dogs are overrated and stupid, and I don't know. I haven't eaten a hot dog in probably 3 years. But if I were to eat a hot dog, literally anything is on the table other than mustard. I don't like mustard.
Papa Cristo's. I have been there. How am I not myself? We've actually had it catered over to when I was there. It's really good. The problem it is Papa Cristo's in K-Town, and I live up in the valley. So going down there now is kind of hard for me. There's a place in the valley called New York Chicken and Euros, and I posted their mixed platter on Twitter, and let me just tell you, I'm thinking about those euros again now. Go to Costco. I've heard great stories about he's talking about the hot dog. He's talking about the hot dog combo at Costco. The very famous one for a very low price that I forget.
Yeah, nah. I'm good. I'm not experiencing fine dining at Costco.
$1.50.
Thank you for the offer.
It's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be cheap, Jeremy.
Sure. I mean, why don't I just go to Home Depot and grab myself a meal? Their little hot dog
If
cart.
it's $1.50, then absolutely.
No. I'm not trying to, I don't know.
You don't know what you're doing.
Snub your nose at? What's the term? I don't know. Whatever. I'm not trying to poo-poo, good deals. I'll eat a Little Caesars hot and ready any day of the week. I just think hot dogs is a waste of money no matter how much you're spending on it.
Okay. I think with that, it's probably we're losing steam here.
Probably. All right, guys. So we will probably have a first bite. I'm gonna have to, nail down a guest in the next 48 hours or so. Work on it. Pizza review stream. Maybe
Swedish meatballs at IKEA. I've had those before.
They can't
Not
be
bad.
that good, right? Yes, Kyle Barber.
I've had better. I will say they're the cinnamon rolls at IKEA, decent.
Cinnamon rolls. I'd waste money on any kind of cinnamon roll. Those are delicious anyway.
Yeah, I kind of miss going to Cinnabon.
True. Oh yeah, you guys want to rate someone? Someone said Tyler Crosby. Last time we did it, I don't even think he looked at chat. Oh, my raid button got a big error in it. That's not good. All right, I'm gonna have to pull up Twitch on my own then. Twitch. I have a buddy that would be hype. Is he a Lions fan? Does he bring us Lions insight? Do we want to do Alex? We can do Alex. He's playing the Forest, which is a silly.
I feel like you should give it to his wife just to spite him.
We've done that before.
Yeah.
Chat, Reno or Ivy? Alex or Ivy? I guess I should say, since both of their last names are Reno. All right, everyone's saying Ivy. All right. We are rating Reno the wife.
You can tell him. You can tell Alex I said that to him too. That we're just gonna. I wanted to rate Ivy more.
All right, go say hi to them. They're playing a really silly game where I guess you're just stranded on an island and trying to survive against weird naked monsters. So that sounds fun, right? That's essentially Lions fandom in a nutshell. Stranded on an island.
I've done that so many times before.
Starving off naked monsters. Yeah. Go enjoy them. We'll be back sometime later this week. Hopefully 2 times because we are trying to stream a little bit more and give you some more content. So have a good night, everybody. We'll see you soon. I missed the raid button. There it is.
Sorry, YouTube. I tried to keep up with you guys, but I have no clue what the fuck you guys are talking about right now.
Yeah, you guys are going to have to figure it out. But thank you for everyone who supported, who watched the $5 from Apex. Appreciate you all over on YouTube.
Yeah, I appreciate that insight into the Army. I didn't realize it was a 9 a.m. Wake-up call after the Super Bowl. Right. That's I'm saving that one in my gray mass of matter that I call a brain.
All right, y'all. We'll talk to you guys later, too.